smash. It caught on in a flash. They did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. We'll give it a few more minutes since we had some problems there. The coffin bangers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker Five. They played the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They played the monster mash. Out from his coffin, Mac's voice did ring. Seemed he was troubled by just one thing. Hi guys, so if people come in, we'll welcome them and they can just catch up with us. I'm sorry about that. What happened is that, as we're learning Zoom, I made the original Zoom link and then I wanted Cameron, wave Cameron, say hello Cameron so they can see you. Cameron's my GA and he's in costume. He's here as a graduate assistant. It's a very scary thing to be one, apparently, but not to have one. But Cameron, I wanted him to do the polls. But for him to do the polls, I thought all I had to do was to get on and make him host. But it didn't work that way. It didn't work for him to make polls as a co-host. So everything we tried didn't work. And so he just had to create the Zoom and then add me as co-host. Well, what I shared with everybody was the co-host link. And that's why everybody kept saying, what's the passcode? Because there isn't one. There is no passcode. So sorry about that. That's how that happened, and live and learn, right? Well, are you all ready to play a game? Yay! Let's hear some enthusiasm. Okay. This was me before edTPA. This was my most recent professional portrait. edTPA is so much fun. I'm just so glad that you're here to enjoy it with me today. Maybe you too can look like this or this. So, why do I do it then if I'm not a fan? Well, because it's not about me. And although I am not a person who thinks that big high stakes tests are important, I don't serve my students well when I put my principles above practical considerations that where they have a license on the line. So I was not hired to take care of Terrell Yates's needs. So I make sure that we do the best we can with edTPA, even if it turns us into a monster. Okay, now what we're going to do is that we're going to play a little game, and it's going to have a poll. I'm going to read the question, and then Cameron will he'll put up the poll. You'll answer, and then we'll look at the correct answer. So, true or false? edTPA was designed by Pearson. Go ahead and answer the poll. A couple more people to answer. Okay. Maybe y'all, we got one more person that's going to answer. All right, there we go. I'm going to end the polling. We're going to share the results. Well, guess what? That is scary! edTPA was not designed by Pearson. edTPA was written by folks at Stanford, believe it or not. So this answer should have been false. It was written by the Stanford Center for Assessment, Learning, and Equity.
And if I weren't being recorded, I would say they need to learn to write. Oops. Oops. Uh-oh. Oh, Ryan Nibbins has raised his hand. What do you need, Dr. Nibbins? No, but you can keep your own score. I like a low risk learning environment myself. However, if you'd like to keep your own score, you can. Okay. Okay. All right. Good. All right. So the this is a performance based, subject specific assessment. It was developed by educators at Stanford, and it is used all across the nation now. All right. edTPA, true or false? edTPA stands for Education Teaching Performance Assessment. Launch the poll. Y'all didn't know you won't get to listen to me sing. Oh, na 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 na. Big scary dances. Okay, let's see. We'll end the polling. Let's share the results. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We all said it was true, but it's false. It doesn't stand for education teaching performance assessment. It stands for educative teaching performance assessment. That was tricky. Although it is hey, I can't you have to learn to carefully read. Okay, so although it is an assessment, students learn a tremendous amount in the completion of their portfolio, and therefore the experience is considered educative. All right, let's go on. Okay, true or false? edTPA has been using, ETSU has been using the edTPA in its program for over 7 years. True or false? Launch the poll. We're almost there. 5 more people. 4 more. 3 more. 2 more. 1 more. Okay, in polling. Share results. Well, this is true. So the trues have got it. All right. This is true. We started actually around 2011 in one capacity or another. So we started it out. We were involved in setting score thresholds. As far as submitting portfolios for national scoring, we didn't begin that for a couple of years. All right. Here we go. The spring 2021 passing score for Tennessee is, launch the poll. All right, almost there. One more person. All right, in the polling. Okay, most of you said that it was 40, and most of you were right. So we were going to go up to 42, but this little guy said, oh no, we have to make it 40. Don't you love him? Isn't he adorable? I just kind of found him, and he just really sort of fit my mood. I'm killing Janice Cloud. I'm just killing her. I don't know what it is. It might be because it belongs to my husband, and he loves the Beatles, so it's very likely belongs to him. Okay, the use of the edTPA for licensing is a requirement of who? This is a hard question. requires us to do this? Okay, we need 4 more people to answer this question. Almost there. 2 more. 2 more. We're not going to get the other 2. Okay, I'm going to end polling and share the results. And most people said it was the state of Tennessee, and that answer is correct. It is the state of Tennessee that requires it for licensing. Not every state requires it. For example, Virginia doesn't require it. North Carolina does. So, there you go. In Tennessee, we require it. The edTPA, excuse me, I can't read this. Most edTPAs have 15 handbooks. Sorry, most edTPA handbooks have 15 rubrics. I learned to read next week. Is what I'm doing next week. True or false? All right, we need 3 more. 2 more. All right. In polling. Share results. This is true. Does anybody know what handbooks do not have 15? Don't answer. It's world languages and elementary education. So world languages and classical languages have 13 rubrics. Unmute and tell me if you know which rubrics are not in the world languages edTPA. What? New. Max, I see you here. You need to know this. What's left out at the edTPA for you, Max? You know? All right, Janice Cloud, you tell us. 4 and 14, the academic language ones. Elementary, God bless them, the people in the other parts of the of the United States that have to do an 18 rubric. They have 4 tasks. So they do a literacy with a math add-on or a math with a literacy add-on. Doesn't that sound like a whole lot of fun? I am so sorry we're missing out on that. Okay, candidates should strive for a 5 on every rubric. Is this true or false? Launch the polling. All right, I'm going to end the polling and share the results. We have kind of split there. 61% said it was true, 39% said it was false. Well, guys, guess what? It's false. You strive for 3. That's why we have strive for 45, because 3 times 15 is 45. That much I know. I can't read because that's tomorrow, but I do know that 3 times 15 is 45. Okay, we're going to strive for 3 because that is achievable and that's where we should be, and then we can always try to extend more. To begin with, we strive for 3. Scorers, when they score, they look at the rubric and they begin at the 3. And if you don't have the 3, they don't go up. So you have to have the 3. If you don't have the 3, they go down and look at the 2 and they look at the 1 to see which one you fit with the best. So that is why we strive for a 3, and then as we polish our work, we hope to get to a 5. The edTPA scoring is pretty subjective, even though there are rubrics, true or false. pretty well split on this one. All right, we give just another couple of minutes. See if we can get everybody that wants to in. All right, going to end the polling. We'll share the results. All right, survey says that this is false. And the survey is correct. It's false. The scorers are very carefully trained. If you've been through the training, you know that it is very rigorous. And not only are the scorers trained, they have to, when they score, they have to tag evidence. So they can't just read something and say, oh, that looks awesome, this should be a 5. They have to actually show the evidence in the commentary or in the artifacts, which is why I tell my students to make their evidence really obvious, just like if you were hiding Easter eggs for a 2-year-old. You would hide them so obviously that you would never have to worry about rotten eggs a week later. So they have to tag the evidence, and beyond that, they also have to be audited. So they are randomly audited. That's why sometimes people have scores that are 2.5. That means that somebody else has read their material and given them a score, and when there's a difference, they divide it. Also, if you make a little bit lower, and so like for instance, our score is, cut score is 40. So if your score turns out to be between 39 and 41, your portfolio is automatically scored by a second and maybe even a third scorer. That prevents there to be this subjectivity that we're worried about. All right. Now, when you just some background on the scoring, if you've seen the team rubric, you know that we always, in a team rubric, we're shooting for a 3. That's considered rock solid. And up here is an example of an edTPA rubric, and we do the same thing. It has a very rigorous scoring philosophy. There is a scale of 1 to 5. 3 is the rock solid. That's where you should be. The 4s and the 5s are saved for the very exceptional, and they are hard to get, even with the rubric. Scorers are very carefully vetted and trained, and their scoring is regularly evaluated. So it's about as good as you can get for that type of assessment. Okay, the highest score possible on a 15 rubric edTPA is, launch the poll. One more. Okay, so in the polling, and you all are really good at math. 5 times 75, 5 times 15 is 75. You can do math better than I can talk. So the correct answer is 75. The number of students ETSU has had with the score of 75. Launch the poll. Okay, in polling and share results. Several of you thought that 0 students have gotten the 75, and you would be correct. There have been no ETSU students get a score of 75, and that's because it is about as impossible to make a 75 on the edTPA as it is to make a perfect score on the ACT or the SAT. So if you didn't make a perfect score on those tests, Don't be expecting yourself to make a perfect score on the 75. It's not a good idea to set yourself up to thinking you're going to have a perfect score, because then you can do a marvelous job and be disappointed in yourself, and that's just not even right. Okay. All right. The 4 language demands referred to in the edTPA are reading, writing, speaking, listening. Launch the poll. Is this true or false? Three more, 2 more, 1 more. Okay, we end the polling and share the results. Boy, half of you thought true and half of you thought false. That's interesting. Well, the correct answer is false. The 4 language demands on the edTPA are not reading, writing, speaking, listening. These are language and communication that are focused, but they are not the edTPA's language demands are vocabulary, language functions, syntax, or discourse. Those are the language demands. Reading, writing, speaking, and listening describes receptive and expressive communication and language, but it's not what we consider language demands in the edTPA. All right, academic language is in every content handbook. True or false? Launch the poll. Two more, 1 more. Almost, almost. All right, there we go. In the polling, again, we've got some split results here. So let's see what the real answer is. False. Academic language is not in every content handbook. It is not in the World Language Handbook, and special education does not concentrate on academic language. Their rubric 4 and 14 focuses on communication rather than academic language. Early childhood has academic language, but they do not focus on function, discourse, or syntax. Instead, they focus on vocabulary. All right, what are the 3 tasks of the edTPA? Launch the poll. You can, of course, choose more than one. Choose 3. Three, 2 more, 2 more, 1 more, 1 more. Okay, in polling and share results. Well, we just about got it, but not quite. The 3 tasks of the edTPA are planning, instruction, and assessment. Tricked you on that one. These are the how it ties all together. This is the cycle of teaching that we look at with the edTPA: planning, instruction, and assessment. And this is how it all ties together. Okay. This describes the edTPA, true or false. edTPA candidates write lesson plans, record their lessons, and give students tests. A scorer then looks at it all and gives a score. Does that adequately describe the edTPA, true or false? You're almost there. 1 more. All right, in polling, share results. A lot of you got this answer correct, because the answer is false. This is a very big oversimplification. This is what it looks like. So task 1 is planning. You have to describe your class. You completed context for learning. You plan a learning segment. That's where your lesson plans come in. You gather instructional materials and assessment materials. You put those in files that you submit. You write your commentary. Then you teach and video a learning segment. You find 2 clips and then you write a commentary about it. Then you collect an assessment and you analyze it. You describe your evaluation criteria, collect your work samples, analyze those, have evidence of quality feedback, and write a commentary for that. And then you upload it in March or April. Not a big deal, nothing. It does not look like this. That much we can tell you. The edTPA does not look like this. Instead, it looks like this. When you submit the edTPA, it is going to look like this. You're going to put it on live text, and it's just going to be a bunch of files, just like that. Bunch of PDF files and a couple of video clip files, or maybe a little more, depending on your handbook. And the rubrics are used to score it. All right. Mentor teacher must choose the central focus of the learning segment that the teacher candidate will teach. True or false? All right, send our polling. Share results. And you are correct. It is false. All right. So even though it's crucial that the mentor and the teacher candidate discuss the edTPA, the requirements, and it's important that the mentor help choose the central focus, because the mentor is not taking the assessment. It is the responsibility of the candidate to choose one. So when candidates say, my mentor won't give me a central focus, I try to be helpful, but the truth of the matter is they need to get a central focus. And so it's really up to them. We can't put that on the mentors. Lesson plans are the primary source of evidence in task 1. True or false? Two more. I quit singing when you have 2 more. Okay. Well, we're pretty evenly divided on this one too. So, what is the answer? Boy, we are really divided on that one. This is false. They are not the primary source of evidence in task 1. The lesson plans are supporting evidence. The primary source of evidence in task 1 is the commentary. So everything else in task 1 supports the commentary. So in task 2, the primary source of evidence is the video. So it's just something that you have to look at your making good choices in your handbooks to know. So the lesson plans are considered supporting documentation. They are very important, but if you think about it, how could they be the primary source of evidence when everybody across the United States has different looking lesson plans? So that would not be a good way to do that. You are going, in order for your lesson plans are important, actually they're crucial, because you have to write about your planning for about 9 to 10 pages. So you need to have good lesson plans full of stuff to write about. All right. The page limit on each lesson plan for the edTPA is, launch polling. Okay, in the polling, and we had a lot of people get this one right because the correct answer is 4. The page limit is 4. So I'll get the question a lot. How on earth do we get a 20-page lesson plan down to 4 pages? Well, that is because your lesson plan that you write for Residency 1 and is a lesson plan that is used for more than just your lesson. It is used by your professors and your instructors and your supervisors as a way for them to formatively assess whether or not you're making the proper connections needed. And that is why they are so long and rigorous. A lot of the things that you write about in your lesson plans in Residency 1 are there and have been intentionally put there not to make your life miserable, although that's an option, but that is not why we did it. We put them in there in order to help you think about the things you needed to think about to do better on the edTPA. Now, the edTPA lesson plan template that we use here at ETSU is much shorter, and it still has all the important parts. All right, so the planning commentary, when you get ready to do task 1, you're going to have to get to know your school, your classroom, your students, your community. You're going to have to choose a central focus, plan a learning segment that's 3 to 5 lessons, come up with or make instructional materials and assessments. Yes, you can use the things that belong to other people and that are published. And then you write a commentary to describe the thinking behind that planning, and you provide artifacts. The artifacts, when we talk about artifacts, these are the context for learning, those 3 to 5 lesson plans, the instructional materials, and the assessment materials. In the planning commentary, what you will write about is how you use knowledge of students to inform teaching and learning, how you support varied learning needs, how you support academic language, and how you came up with assessments that monitored and supported students' learning throughout the learning segment. It looks like this. This is what the context for learning looks like, except it's about 3 or 4 pages long. Your lesson plans, they're going to look, we're using the ETSU lesson plan template. It's changed since this photo. This is someone's instructional materials that they've made and their assessments that they've made. And the planning commentary, this is what it looks like. It comes in a template, and students click within the brackets to write. And it's about 9 to 10 pages. And your seminar leaders are very good at leading you through it. Don't be afraid of it. They know what they're doing, and as long as you follow directions and stay on track, you should not be in any trouble. Okay, task 2 is instruction. It's very important candidates give a good lecture or explanation, true or false. We got 5 more people. You're not asleep, are you? Okay, it's in the polling, and share the results. And, well, the correct answer is, oh, so false. Your instruction video is about 1% you and 99% students. So you cannot just put a camera on you and go for it. That won't work. The camera needs to show you, the video needs to show you and your students. You need to lead your students in discussion and an activity where there's a lot of talking, a lot of thinking, a lot of engagement. Your students sitting quietly at a desk does not count as engagement. You talking at the front of the room is not going to work. So we have to, it's not about a good lecture. You can be like me, you can wear a hat, you can become Bullwinkle, which is not a bad idea. You like my Bullwinkle hat? And it doesn't matter. Even if you're Bullwinkle, you're going going to make a 1 or a 2 on, or even if you are, wait a minute, I gotta do this because Janice Cloud is loving it. Even if you're the coolest teacher in the face of the world and you have the most awesome stories, it won't matter because it's not about you. Never when you're a teacher. It's never about you. Task 2, you need to teach and video your learning segment. You have to show evidence of you being respectful toward your students and having a rapport with your students. The learning environment needs to be low risk but challenging and positive. You need to make sure there is high levels of student engagement, not actively listening. Do you know that's not a thing? Listening is passive. Don't put actively listening. What the heck does that mean? Let's say I'm passively running. It's crazy. No. So no, you need to think of engagement. They're doing something. You need to have lots of higher ordered thinking. You need to use your subject specific pedagogy. That's rubric 9, unless you're world languages and it's rubric 8. That's all. Oh, and relevancy. You want to make sure it's relevant. And you got to get all that in 15 or 20 minutes. Not a big deal. It's doable. Okay, candidates will film the best 20 minutes of the learning segment. True or false? Launch the poll. Okay. Couple more. All right. That's everybody. So, the correct answer is false. So, you're going to film the entire time that you're teaching this learning segment, which you may be doing for a minimum of 3 days, a maximum of 5 days, and then you're going to go through the footage and you're going to choose the best clips. So you're not going to clip stuff together and try to merge them. That'll give you a failing score. You're going to pull out snippets, 15 minute, 10 minute, 20 minutes, whatever your handbook says. So you'll have to obtain parental permission. You will film the entirety of all the lessons taught. If we end up doing it virtually, you should do it like I'm doing today, which means that you're using a screen recorder. In addition to Zoom, you can also have an outside recorder. I could have a recorder up here, down, catching my beautiful hats and hair and the screen and the students here. And then you're going to go through and you're going to pick clips that show the things that you need in the evidence for rubric 6, 7, 8, and 9. Do not submit your lecture or big long explanations. All right, task 3. Candidates need to show that their students have learned the objectives. Oops. Oh no, I told you the answer. Oh well. I guess it was a freebie. I hit the wrong thing. Okay, so they need to show that their students have learned the objectives. That is correct. So a lot of the times what we have is a situation where people give like a math test and they say, well, I had 3% of my students make 100, 10% of my students make an 85. And the problem with that is that tells us nothing about how they did on the objective. So they have to show that they do have to show that their students, they do have to analyze by objectives, but it doesn't matter if your students don't do well on the test. So that's the point here. You are, with task 3, you're evaluated on your ability to analyze learning and not your students' ability to learn. Okay, This is what task 3 looks like. You'll design an assessment that has clear alignment to your objectives. You'll come up with evaluation criteria. You'll collect the work samples and analyze the data, and you'll give quality feedback, and then you'll write your commentary. This is what it looks like. Here's evaluation criteria in case you wanted to know. This person, I think this is one of Miss Cloud's students. She had evaluation criteria listed out for every single lesson. She's got these beautiful rubrics that she made. This is the student sample. So she had written their feedback on their work sample, but she also gave them additional feedback on a separate page where she took the rubrics. She talked to them about what they can do to improve, what they're doing well, and she gave them a suggestion for improvement. This is the level 5 for feedback. The assessment commentary. This is one way to create the table that you need. And other people make fancy graphs, but you will make a graph or a table or a chart. And there's plenty of people around who can help you do that if you don't know how. But you'll be like this person, you'll be doing it based on not the number of things that people missed and got wrong, but how well they did on objectives. So that particular commentary, I think it's about 10 pages maximum. So when you write the edTPA, you must include research and theory with every prompt, true or false, and I'm not going to mess up. Hands are off. I'm not going to hit the wrong thing. Launch the poll. Cameron. Almost there. Okay, in polling. Survey says, a lot of people think this is true and a lot of people think it's false. When you write the edTPA, you should include research and theory with every prompt. That is false. Although you should give detailed explanations, like I wore a hat because I look very good in hats and they match my glasses and they look awesome with my gray hair. That's an explanation. And you should give rationale as to why Mrs. Cloud thinks that Mrs. Yates is crazy. Well, she acts crazy, she looks crazy, she is crazy, so she gives rationale. But you don't have to give research to back up that I'm crazy. You just talk about your observation. You do need to include research and theory, and that will be looked at in rubrics 3, 10, and 15. Rubric 3 is a rubric that assesses the planning commentary prompts 2 and 3. Rubric 10 is a rubric that assesses the task 2 instruction commentary prompt 5 or 4. I'm not sure which one it is. It's the last prompt in task 2. And then the 15, that's the last prompt in the whole thing. So there's just 3 prompts that require research and theory. Candidates must carefully provide citations and include a bibliography. True or false? Launch the poll. Okay, time to end the polling. Boy, this is another one with some split results. I wonder which it is. Let's see. It's false. So, guess what? If you look through the edTPA's rubrics, which are how it's scored, there is absolutely no mention of citations. Okay, well, what about the condition codes, Mrs. Yates? Well, if you look at the list of condition codes you can get a condition code for having too few students, but you don't get a condition code for not including a citation, because they're not assessing your ability to create citations and bibliographies. They're assessing your ability to teach and analyze your instruction and your assessments. So, you are asked to include citations as part of your ethical and professional obligations. And we do want you to do that. However, I don't like for my candidates to get all stressed out about citations and bibliographies when they have no effect on their scoring. Okay. Correct grammar and punctuation is not necessary. True or false? Almost there. This is either true. I don't know what you mean. There's nothing wrong with the way that cameras. It's true. It's not true. Correct grammar and punctuation is not necessary. True. It's not necessary. Now, think about that. Do we want grammar and punctuation? Yes, because one of the things you want is for your scorer to be able to read your material and to make good sense out of it and to understand what you're saying. So grammar and punctuation is a part of that, of course, and good usage, good spelling, all of those things are important. However, you will not find grammar and punctuation in the rubrics or in the condition codes, because that would be unfair to parts of our population who have learning needs and take this assessment. So that part is not included in the assessment. Okay. edTPA does not require the edTPA does not require that candidates include technology in their lessons. True or false? Almost there. One more. Oh, good, we're done. And we have some kind of split results to some degree. The correct answer is true. You can literally teach this lesson under the oak tree with 4 students and do just as well, according to the rubrics, as if you were in the most highly technologically advanced classroom. Now, does that technology help you with engaging your learners? Does it help with a lot of things? Does it make your lessons more exciting? Of course it does. But none of the rubrics and none of the condition codes require that you have technology. Okay. Now, that's not true, of course, for people who are in technical education. A little coffee. They're different. Okay. Since this is an assessment, professors may not help candidates. True or false? Two more? One more? Okay, in Poland. Wow, 50-50 again. All right. What is the answer then? False. Huh. Wait a minute. They can help? Well, this is educative. So that means that we can help in a way that's acceptable supports. There are acceptable supports. So, Max cannot give me his paper and say, here, Miss Yates, read this and tell me what I need to fix. I can't do that. That's not acceptable. But we do have some acceptable supports. For example, we can discuss the tasks and the scoring rubrics. We can look at samples of previously completed edTPA portfolio materials, as long as the person who we're using gives us permission. We can discuss the Making Good Choices documents, and we can practice using the rubrics on other things. We can use the rubrics and the rubric language in any other assignment that we use here in the College of Ed. So let's say that Dr. Niven says, I want my students to analyze an assessment. He could use those rubrics if he wanted to, and it would be fine. You can arrange for someone to help you with the video recording. Also, as instructors can read your materials and ask you probing questions like, not why did you get answer 2 wrong, but have you thought about, or things of that nature, which really make you think and look at your work. So there is some acceptable evidence. All right, some unacceptable evidence is that we cannot get your official materials and edit them. We cannot get your official materials and edit them. We cannot offer critiques that are specific or give you alternative responses. We cannot help you pick your video clips. And we cannot upload your edTPA for you, or we cannot put anything on social media websites without permission. Now, true or false, and we don't have a poll for this, so put it in the chat box. The edTPA is a monster. True or false? Is it a monster? I don't know. Do you think it's a monster? It might be. I should have gotten my Wild Things puppet. No, the edTPA is not a monster. It's an elephant, but not a monster. To eat an elephant, we're going to do it one little bite at a time. And that's how you eat an elephant. We're not going to try to sit down and eat an elephant all in one day. And that's why we start in residency 1, eating the elephant. We start and we just take little bit of bites. Okay. So the edTPA is a journey. There is not a point that you finish the edTPA until you actually finish the edTPA. So a lot of people are expecting sort of a start and an end. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to do the edTPA. It's not an event. The edTPA is not an event. It's not like go take the praxis. The edTPA is a portfolio that you're going to work on. And when you get to the end of that road, you got a job on the other side. And you can't hardly beat that. Do I have anybody that has questions about the edTPA? You want to ask me or Bullwinkle? The official documents you can have, you just need to ask me or Dr. Nevins for them. But there's not really a reason for you to have them just yet. Your instructor will give you to them as you need them. So a lot of the thing that you all want to do is that you want to get it done. Like, I want to get started and get it done. Well, I can tell you that if you got started and got it done, you'd be doing it over. That's exactly what would happen. You'd have to do it over because what we do is that we take you through prompt by prompt and we help you. That's how we give you the support on the front end. So a lot of my students are like, you're not giving me feedback, forgetting the fact that I'm not supposed to give you feedback. You're not giving me feedback. And I'm saying, no, I'm not. I'm giving you your support on the front end as you're doing it the first time. And that kind of keeps the ethical consideration of the fact that it is an assessment. So you'll get them as you need them, but if you feel like you'd like to look at them a little sooner, we'll make them available to you. Any other questions? Did anybody make 100%? Ryan, you going to tell us your score out of 20? I got them all right. Okay. Did you all keep score in the chat? Okay. Miss Clown, how did you do? No, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you mean.